the whole idea of a constructed language um, is something which got very little respect, say, when I first started out. And I'll tell you something interesting. Um, as I mentioned early on, when this solicitation went out to various linguistics departments asking for a linguist who could take on this role, there was very little response. I think I may have
Really?
been the only one person who responded. Why? Because linguists looked at it and said, "Oh, this is nonsense. We're not supposed to be making up languages. We are scientists. We are studying languages. We're trying to bring uh, extinct and dying languages, endangered languages back from the dead. We shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff." Well, you know, one thing doesn't preclude the other. You can kind of do both. Uh, long story short, in the in the interim, Conlang languages have developed kind of a following, and one of the best indicators of this is that there are linguistics courses in prestigious linguistics departments, pretty much all over the world, devoted to constructed languages, where the students in these classes, as this semester project, have to construct, or the beginning, have to construct the beginning of their own constructed language. I've had the pleasure of speaking to some of these classes, and one of the most delightful things is that at the end of my talk, each student would take a few minutes and tell me about his or her constructed language and say a few things in the language. There's no better way, pedagogically speaking, to learn about something like linguistics than actually doing it yourself and seeing what the difficulties are, what pitfalls you fall into, how you have to, why languages do certain things one way and not the other. It's been quite amazing. So yeah, I think constructed languages, or conlangs as we call them, really are coming into their own. And there was a time when someone uh, with a science fiction script or a fantasy script where someone's supposed to be speaking an alien language would say, just make up some stuff, blah, 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 gibberish. Nobody's going to know. I mean, who's going to know if it's right or wrong? Well, that does not cut it at all anymore. I mean, Klingon was probably the major influence, but nowadays, any uh, any producer or director worth their salt will actually contact a linguist and say, we need a language, a well-constructed, linguistically viable language for this project. And so that's been very encouraging.
And I just want to ask, see the community you said you have online, how much do you guide them? Like, do they go to you as being the ultimate authority, or do you just kind of let them
Yeah.
progress the language on their own?
Yeah.
Like, how much of a hand do you have in it?
I try to keep somewhat of a hands-off policy. I don't want people to think that I'm always there looking over their shoulder. However, the language is never finished. Navi is not finished. We're constantly adding new vocabulary. We're constantly refining some of the grammatical points and so on. At this point, I think we have somewhat over 3,000 words. It's not a lot, but as needs come up, people will say, could we have a word for this, and so on.